And it's hard because the fact about it is, it's just like you don't know, and you gotta pray, you gotta ask God to help you with different things that is going on in your life. And we do feel it, and some people probably going through their day-to-day, but it's gonna be okay. Whatever it is, it's gonna be okay. Like I said, he says the abundance of rain, but it's like, he's gonna make the provision. And it's almost over. It's almost over. The season of lack, the season of getting frustrated with different things, it's almost over. And then I think they said in the scripture was Ezekiel. I think it was Ezekiel. There's a time and a season for everything. A time to pass. What is it? What did it say? Let me see. It was Ezekiel. I have it. I just trying to find it. Hold on. Okay, I found it. I was looking for it. So, I think it's Ecclesiastes. It says there. It says it was 3 and 8. It says there is an occasion of everything and a time for everything active under the heaven, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to avoid embracing, a time to search and a time to count as a loss, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And it says, yeah. So that's what it is. So there's a time for everything, as I have listed. So with what we're talking about today, what we're talking about is just like literally with life, like the drought, like for real in your life, and it might be the time for to sow. I would say like the time to sow and the time to tear. I'm working on it, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. But the drought's almost over. That's what I'm getting at. It's like time for everything in life, and the drought is almost over. And you just gotta hold on a little while longer. This was not easy. This one was not easy for me. All right. Further thoughts for the week. After Elijah prayed and he tells his servant to go look for the sea, the servants come back and say he didn't see anything. Elijah kept sending him back until on the 7th time his servants see a little cloud about the size of a man's hand rising from the sea. Elijah is persistent in his faith. He doesn't allow 1 or 2 or 6 bad reports discourage him. He stands on what God says, and he doesn't waver. He won't always see immediately manifestation, but that doesn't mean God isn't going to do what he said. We must be persistent in our faith, knowing that if God said it, it's got to come to pass. That is so true. So with that, as you know, the servant's coming back and saying, "Oh, I don't see it. I don't see it." And the seventh time he was, he saw the hand in the clouds, and the rain was coming. And with a lot of us, we got to start asking God. I would say, God, increase my faith. As I heard from the pastor I listened to, she says, "Help my unbelief." God. And I believe that's what it is. We need to ask God to start helping our unbelief and help us to keep going, even if we don't see it, but to keep going. And it's going to come to pass. It's going to come to pass. Like I said, you don't know when, you don't know how, but it's going to come to pass. Whatever it is, whatever God gave you, people might see crazy, and looking at you like, what? God told you to do what? But, long as you're obedient and you continue to keep going, God is so proud of you. And, like I said, we gotta be like, Elijah. God, help my unbelief. If this week today you can ask God to help your unbelief, help me in different areas that I need to work on to start, letting you do the impossible in my life, and to start having faith. And as as Elijah, it's definitely being persistent. He doesn't care how bad the prayer is. He believed in it. He believed. And I think that is too. That's what God's saying is, you got to start believing. You got to start believing so he can start moving. That's what he said. He said he start believing, he's going to start moving. So we start believing in what he says and knowing he going to do what he said. He going to give you that car. He going to give you that house. If you want to be married, he going to give you that marriage. All that type of stuff. But right now, enjoy the journey where you're at. Don't rush it. Don't rush God. Enjoy it right now, because when you look back on it, you're going to see, you're just going to be in awe. Like, God, you used me, little old me, to do what you told me to do. And not just me, but for you, for you to do what God told you to do. And it may look crazy. It may look so crazy because you're stepping out on faith. As you keep reminding me, I literally stepped out on faith going to school. I literally stepped out on actual faith and physical faith to go to school. So God can do the impossible. Like, literally, I'm thinking, okay, God, I'm just taking this walk to Kenneth Schuler for nothing. And, I'm making just putting down a down payment. And I'm like, my hands are whatever. Like, back in the day, I was just like, okay, whatever. I don't know why I'm doing this, but okay, because I was very persistent. I wanted to go to school. And, and then I left it alone. I was like, you know what, God, whatever. Because I don't know why I took a walk there. I don't know. Maybe they're not going to call me, whatever. And God did the impossible. I went to school, for that year and time. But that was a time and a season for that or whatever. But we got to start being more persistent. Like, literally, constantly go to him. I know people be like, I just prayed about that yesterday. Go to him again. Sometimes we got to be like, God, talk to him like he's your best friend. God, I don't want to bother you, but he's okay with that. He wants to hear from us and be like, hey, God, I really want this car. I don't know how I'm going to get this car. I've been taking the bus or the Lyft or whatever, but I really want this car so I can get back and forth and do what I need to do for my family. And he's going to honor that. He's going to honor your faith. And if it's in your spirit to just do it. I learned that this week. Just go do it. Do it scared. We're not supposed to have the spirit of fear, but sometimes we are afraid to do it. We are afraid to just keep going. and to do what we're meant to do. And it's not easy. But I don't know why I'm saying all that. But that's probably encouragement for somebody. Just do it. Start small. Start, if you want to work on that business, start small. Go sit down and sit by yourself and start writing it out. Or if you want to, I keep saying business, but if you want to just start, work on, I don't know, work on some things your goals. Sit with yourself today, and write down the goals that you want to do and start knocking down those goals. That's what I would encourage you to do this week. Sit with yourself and just knock out, even if it's just a small goal, just to, I want to take a walk for 5 minutes. That's a goal right there. Just to take a walk, or just to, I'm a little I'm a little spacey, guys. I'm sorry, but just to take a walk, or I wanna start meal planning or something like that. Start doing the goals. Maybe you don't have the right equipment to do the meal planning, but just start do a little bit at a time. You don't need everything at once, but just do a little bit at a time. Walk for 5 minutes. Read your Bible for maybe 5 minutes and let God speak to you. You just start small, and that's also faith, because it's hey, God, I don't know why I'm literally reading your word for 5 minutes, and even in that 5 minutes, He is proud. He is proud that you're just taking out to spend some time with Him. So, once again, I was really trying to do this one. This one was not easy, but it is saying the drought is almost over. Be like Elijah. Be more persistent in the areas in your life, even with your relationship with God. To just talk to Him on the day, and just to keep going. And like it's a time and a season for the drought the lack that you had, and going back to the questions, the areas in your life that you seem like it was a drought, but you're coming out. And what's impossible, and but you sense it in your spirit. God knows that it's impossible, but He's the God that can do the impossible. So just ask Him, and don't put God in a box. I've always don't put God in a box. I'd be like, you do your big one. You do your big one. I don't know when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, how I'm going to get the house, how I'm going to get the job. You do your big one. You know exactly what I need, and you start doing your big one. But that's all. I'm your girl, Shanithia, once again. This is week 19. The drought is almost over. Y'all have a blessed day. Y'all have a blessed week. And, we're in a new month. We made it a new month. Yay. Another month down. So y'all keep going and encourage somebody today that even if they feel like they in a drought, it's almost over. So y'all have a good day.